Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz at Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos. Fired up. You're closing out the work week with us. Hopefully that work week's already been closed out. You're on to the weekend. If not, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Preston Guy here in 15 minutes. I've already prepped Preston. I want to talk defensive ends with Preston. We always talk LSU football with Preston when he comes on Fridays. I think the defensive end position is one certainly worth talking about. I've written a couple of pieces on LouisianaSports.net about it, and so that's where we'll center our focus with Preston coming up. Certainly a monster weekend in the NFL that includes Jaden Daniels. It also includes Saints coaching candidates, and I think a lot of that clears up over the next 7 days after this week is in the rearview mirror for the NFL. I was at the first pitch banquet last night for LSU baseball. Got a couple stories from that last night, and big weekend in Southeastern Conference basketball as well. So loads to get to. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We'll start today like we start every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, let's get things started. I'm going to be completely candid. I'm not going to blow smoke. I'm not going to create a storyline that's not there. I'm going to be completely candid with you. Those first three SEC basketball games were disheartening for me. I think they were disheartening for most of the LSU fan base, if not all of the LSU fan base. Certainly, it was nice to get on track to win a game on Tuesday. And the parameters that we set out around Christmas still exist for this team. I think 7 to 8 wins very much puts you on the bubble or into the NCAA tournament. I just thought after those 3 losses, Vanderbilt, not a good team, comes into your arena and beats you. You go to Missouri, not overly competitive with that team. Ole Miss pulls away in the second half. It to me didn't seem realistic for LSU to get to 7 wins. Right now, it still doesn't feel realistic to me for LSU to get to 7 wins. I don't think this team is good enough. That's my opinion. But the beauty of it is they can prove that wrong. I didn't think last year's LSU team was good enough to win 4 league games. They won 9. It's going to play out, and we're going to watch. So you got my opinion. You know where I stand. And I'll tell you, I think it's amazingly unlikely that LSU goes to Tuscaloosa and wins or beats Auburn in the PMAC. I think both are amazingly unlikely. So unless you want to go to 1-6, Saturday's one you have to get. And if they win on Saturday to go to 2-5, sorry, well, that would be 2-5, assuming they lose 2. They would actually go to 2-3. We can start to have a little bit different conversation. You beat Arkansas on your home floor. You go to A&M and win, even if they don't have Wade Taylor, and we'll talk about that. It changes the conversation. But they're going to have to prove that to me first before I buy into it. Now, look at this Texas A&M team. They're 13-4. They're 2-2 in league play. Credit to Buzz Williams. They played an awesome non-conference schedule. I don't know that I followed it day to day in the non-conference, but I started going a little bit deeper. This is an A&M team that played Houston on the road in the non-conference. They went to Orlando and played Central Florida in the non-conference. They played Oregon and Las Vegas. They actually lost all 3 of those games. But they did. They beat Ohio State. They beat Creighton. They beat Rutgers. They beat Wake Forest. They beat Texas Tech. They beat Purdue. Listen to how many Power 5 teams that is. Houston, Central Florida, Oregon, Ohio State, Creighton, Rutgers, Wake, Texas Tech, Purdue. That is 9 Power 5 non-conference games that Texas A&M played. Good on them. It went okay for them. You lost 3 of those. You were able to win 6 of them. That's a solid effort, I would say. In conference play, they started out by beating Texas in College Station, 80-60, dusted their longtime rivals. Then they went to Oklahoma, beat them by 2, started out 2-0. Since, played Bama in College Station, got beat by 6 points in a pretty good game that was high-scoring, 94-88. Then they went to Rupp, and they got smoked, 81-69. Okay, that's what they've done this year. They played a tough non-conference, got off to a good start in league play, lost a couple of tough games against good teams, and now they come back home to take on an LSU team that they will expect to beat, quite frankly. They've got an identity under Buzz Williams. There's no question about it. And even if you haven't watched them play this year, I bet you can tell me what that identity probably looks like. Not a lot of five-star recruits, not a lot of McDonald All-Americans, not a lot of first-round picks, but they play hard, they defend, they're tough, they're strong. They're all of those things that Buzz Williams always coaches. And it usually means you're a good basketball team. It usually means we don't see you in the second week of the NCAA tournament. They just usually don't have the skill required to make a run. And I would suggest this team probably doesn't with Wade Taylor. Without Wade Taylor, definitely does not. Wade Taylor is a huge piece to what they do. Last year, he set school records for three-point attempts, three-pointers made, points by a junior. He's a two-time first-team All-SEC player at Texas A&M. And he's been out for 3 games. He's got knee tightness. I watched the press conference from earlier this week with Buzz Williams. He was asked about when Wade Taylor could return. The answer was not real encouraging. So without him, you're missing 15.7 points per game, a 35% three-point shooter, a guy who shoots 90% from the free throw line. He leads the team in assists. If he doesn't play, A&M's not as good. It's just the way it is. But they are what they are with or without him in terms of their style of play. Their offensive efficiency is 90th in the country. That's not going to wow you. Their shooting percentage is the worst in the SEC. They're the worst shooting percentage team in the league. Do they dish out assists? No, because they don't make shots. They're 244th in the country in assists. Well, how do they score? How did they score 88 on Bama? How did they score 80 points against Oklahoma, 80 points against Texas? How do they do that? It's easy. One thing. They offensive rebound like crazy people. First in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. First in the nation in offensive rebounds per game. And they're tough. They force teams into fouls. They're 17th in the country in creating fouls. They're 21st in the country in terms of the percentage of the points they get from the free throw line. They rebound, which draws fouls. They get to the free throw line. They don't shoot worth a flip. They don't get assists. They don't play up tempo. They rebound. And LSU has been atrocious on the defensive glass. Awful. In the 250s in the country in defensive rebounding. Just really bad. And that's something that LSU is going to have to do. It's the entire key to the game. This is a team in Texas A&M that had 23 offensive rebounds against Bama, 21 against Oregon and Creighton. But Kentucky held them off the offensive glass. They only got 11 offensive rebounds. How many points they score? 65. 65. That's the game. If you can keep Texas A&M off the offensive glass, which is far easier said than done, you can win this game. And it's not like there are a bunch of 7-foot towers in there. This is their front court. Pharrell Payne, 6'9", 250. Henry Coleman, 6'8", 250. Solomon Washington, 6'7", 220. Anderson Garcia, 6'7", 220. They're just relentless on the glass. That's just what they want to do. So when you're on defense for your LSU, you defend like they have. First shot defense, you have to get to the glass. Then what's the deal on offense? Well, here's some statistics on LSU that are concerning to say the very least to me, but it's just the reality of where LSU is at this point. Cam Carter has to kind of do it all. Like without him, they're just not very good. Listen to some of these numbers. It's not a one-time thing. It's a recurring thing. On Tuesday, he shot 47% from the floor and made all 10 of his free throws. He scored 27 points, and LSU scored 78. That's one of the good days. Last weekend in Oxford, he took 18 shots, so it wasn't like they went away from him, but he shot 39% from the floor and never shot a free throw. So he got to 16 points inefficiently. LSU scored 65. They weren't competitive. Against Missouri, on the road, Cam Carter, 5 of 15 from the floor. LSU scored 67 points. He's got to do it. Pittsburgh, you lost that game. At the Greenbrier, he scored 11 points. You scored 63. However, you go to Kansas State. You win that game, dominate that game from start to finish. Cam Carter shoots 54% from the floor, 50% from the three. LSU scored 76 points on the road and won. He is everything to this offense. Sears is going to get his shots up. They need him to make some threes. Damian Collins can chip in with his offensive rebounds and a couple of dunks. Maybe Mike Williams can hit a 3 or 2. Jai Bailey's probably going to go 4 of 6 with 2 free throws for 8 or 9 or 10 points. But nobody else on the floor can go for 25. They just don't have it. So Cam Carter has to do everything. And he's a good player. But it's kind of where you are offensively. So the 3 storylines for this game: Cam Carter get cooking on offense. You got to get on the defensive glass for your LSU. Prevent these guys from getting second shots. And then what does Wade Taylor do? Does he play or does he not? There will be an eligibility report released tonight, and we'll get a good feel for that. I've got a pregame story that will be written on LouisianaSports.net coming up tomorrow morning. We'll see what the line is. I would guess A&M by 5 or 6 points would be my guess. Still a ranked team, but it's not the same team without Wade Taylor. I'll sing a slightly different tune on Monday about what this team is and what their capabilities are if they can go to College Station and win. Keep in mind, and this is a lot of stuff that doesn't matter, but it is what it is. Some of it does, actually. But like LSU, Tremont Waters goes over there in 2018, and he's throwing in 30-footers at the buzzer to beat them. And then LSU went back in 2019, a really good team, and they beat them by 15 points, just thumped them. Last year, LSU opened league play at Reed Arena against Texas A&M, and were very much underdogs in that game. A&M could not get to the offensive glass. LSU beat them by 15 points. Cruise control, start to finish. It was a stress-free victory there. And that was a Wade Taylor team. That was a team that did feature Anderson Garcia, that did feature Henry Coleman. And it was a Matt McMahon versus Bud Williams game. So, yeah, a lot of the characters have changed. Certainly you don't have Jalen Cook in this game. You don't have Jordan Wright or Will Baker in this game. In this game, you've got Jordan Sears. You've got Cam Carter. It's a different team on both sides, but it's the same coaches, and LSU has had some good luck at Reed Arena. The same way Coleman Coliseum, even when Bama stunk, Coleman Coliseum was a house of horrors for LSU. Reed Arena's been hospitable to the Tigers. I know a lot of people, look, I was at the first pitch banquet for baseball last night. Trust me, I understand where a lot of people in this town are sitting right now. But if you can beat A&M, we can start to have a conversation, because then you would have 2 wins, and we're just trying to scrap to 7. I don't think next week's going to go very well. That's just the reality of it. If you don't win this one, I think the writing's pretty well on the wall. If you do, okay, we'll talk about it. It's a late game, 7:30. I'm a little bummed about it because that's when Jaden is playing the Lions, but I'll make do. We'll get both games watched in some way, shape, or form, and I'll certainly be hoping that LSU can find a way to go to College Station and get a victory over Buzz and the Ags. All right, our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Foster and Jefferson. It's on government between Foster and Jefferson, I should say. They're online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Go check them out online. The entire menu is right there at your disposal. Looking for a po' boy on this Friday? Get on by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. They bring you our Friday shows each and every week here on The Hunt Palmer Show. Preston Guy talking football when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years of redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you're looking for an opportunity to get out and meet David Duvall and see some of their capabilities, well, you can, because there's a home and remodeling show coming up. It's the 10th annual. It's coming up January 25th, so that's next Saturday and Sunday at Lamar Dixon in Gonzales. Get on by and see some of their fantastic work over there at the show. The show hours are 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Admission's only $6. Get in there and check it out. You'll see the tub-to-shower conversions that they can do. You can meet David, chat with him there about some of the capabilities that they have. You know, financing options are available, 0% for 18 months if you qualify. It's a great chance to get out and see and touch all the great work instead of just listening to me talk about it. I appreciate you listening to me talk about it, and I can tell you how great David and his team are at One Bath and Closets. You got an opportunity next Saturday to get out to Lamar Dixon and see for yourself. It's One Bath and Closets. You can check them out online at onebathandclosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 9.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Reminder, I'll be out at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee, 3 to 5 this afternoon. I get off at 2:56. Call it 3:04. Call it 3:09. 3:09 to 5 o'clock is when I'll be at the Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. But if you're doing your weekend grocery shopping, coming out and see me, we'll be having some fun. Playing some Plinko. So you can win gift cards, hats, cups, shirts, whatever the case may be. You'll see the big van out there. Come see us at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee today. Preston Guy with us every single Friday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline talking some LSU football. Preston, how we doing?
Hunt, how's it going, man?
Going quite well. Let's talk a little pigskin here. I told you earlier today I wanted to talk about LSU's defensive ends. I thought LSU got good defensive end play this past year from Savion Jones and Braden Swinson. Those two guys move on. Kevin Peoples still here, and they kind of had to retool when Deshaun Womack decided to hit the portal and go to Ole Miss. So as you looked at LSU's defensive end play this past season, what did you see?
I thought it was good for LSU this year. I thought certainly there were times it could have improved, but I think it was greatly improved from what it was a year ago. I think a lot of guys didn't expect it to be as good as they were. In fact, at times that defensive line was a strength of the team, and that's just purely coaching because it's basically the same guys who were on that historically awful defense from the year before, and basically just improved coaching, improved their play. So that's a good sign for LSU's future because both those D-line coaches will be back next year. And frankly, I think they're retooled with a lot more talent this upcoming year than they were in 2024.
All right, let's talk about what they've got coming in. We'll talk about Gabriel Relaford as well and Dylan Carpenter as those guys are still here. But they go to the portal. They get Jamari Butler from Nebraska, Patrick Payton from Florida State, as well as Jack Pyburn from Florida. What do you see there?
Well, first off, I think Patrick Payton is your instant plug-and-play starter. I think he was one of the best players in the portal, regardless of position this year. He's going to be a guy who's going to be an instant impact player. You love to see that. from Patrick Payton. That other DN spot's going to be interesting. You look at the film for Jack Pyburn, maybe his numbers don't pop out too much, around 50 tackles or so, a forced fumble here and there. But he plays that jack linebacker role in that defense at Florida, which LSU doesn't have that spot. So he's kind of a tweener. Does LSU see him at linebacker or edge rusher? I think most people are pointing to him as an edge rusher. And I think between him and Gabriel Relaford, it'll be interesting to see which one of them grabs the starter spot. What I love about Jack Pyburn on film is he's aggressive. He takes on blocks. He's a physical player. And he's the kind of guy who's making plays without being the one recording the stat, which I think that's something that those unsung heroes, that's what LSU's really been missing in its defense for quite a while. So love what I got out of them. Of course, the kid out of Nebraska, Jamari Butler, he comes in having, played serviceable reps in Nebraska, about 24 tackles this last year. And I think he'll be the same kind of experience depth piece that you're looking for as you're trying to get a team that's poised to compete on bigger levels. You need more than just your starters. You need quality depth to compete.
Pyburn is interesting because I was listening to Matt Moscona's show back in December when he committed to LSU, and Matt had a guest from the Florida beat on. He said, this guy is just a crazy person, and I think every defense kind of needs that. And then you turn on the film, and you're like, yeah, that checks out. The guy looks like he's got a bit of a screw loose.
Yeah, no, he's exactly right. That little weeks in him. You know what I mean? Like just that. I don't know if I want to run into this guy on the wrong side of town one day. He might be a little crazy.
I look at the game against Ole Miss when LSU got to Jackson Dart 6 times, and a lot of it was Swenson. But that game in the fourth quarter, the defense kind of took over for LSU and waited for the offense to make its plays. And I just feel like if you're going to be a great team and you're going to beat good teams, you're going to have to get back there and get to the quarterback. You mentioned that you feel good about Peyton doing it. Is there anybody else that you think could be a 7, 8, 9 sack guy?
Relaford showed you some flashes last year. Make no mistake, he's just a young player. And I would be excited to see what he develops into. I think it'd be a little early to expect Damian Shaklin as a true freshman, although he'll be here for spring camp and that always helps. But Relaford and Pyburn, I could absolutely see them being guys who develop that. Pyburn's a guy who hasn't had his hand in the dirt playing true edge rusher, yet. So I would be interested to see how that works out. I do think he'd be a good run stopper and bring a physical presence. Pretty certain about that. I'd have to see how his pass rush is with his hands in the dirt. So Relaford is probably the guy I would look to for that, but we'll definitely see. One of those two would be my candidate.
And then the natural progression is to go back just one level to Harold Perkins when he creeps up there and does what he does. We'll have this conversation now, and then we'll do it again in spring football, and then we'll do it in the summer for media days, and then we'll do it all fall camp. But, where does Harold Perkins fit in this discussion that we're having? Does he?
I don't know. He might be the first look at your star next year. We'll see, because, he always grades out very high in coverage, and at star positions, he's kind of a tweener. He's a light linebacker, and it hadn't quite worked out for him yet at any position other than when he was a freshman, and they just said, go out there and rush the quarterback. It was very one-dimensional, and I think everybody can agree he's too talented to be a one-dimensional player like that. So that star position provides some. Certainly there's some interesting blitz packages you can dial up with it, but it's not a consistent, certainly not up the gut, being in the box, providing a presence.
This is something I get all the time. I'll see what your answer is, but people tell me, I don't care how the Indianapolis Colts or Baltimore Ravens feel about Harold Perkins. I'm trying to win games for LSU. He's awesome rushing the passer. Tell him to go rush the passer. What would you say to that?
I don't know that he's big enough to consistently do that at an edge rushing position. Now if you want to just have him come in at third down as an outside linebacker and blitz on the edge, because that's what you did his freshman year, and you think that's all he's good for, you think that's all the talent he has, then go for it. I just don't think he's actually that great as a defensive end, as an edge rusher specifically. And then there's other roles that these positions do, like outside run contain. How is he How does he handle 300-pound offensive tackles driving him backwards? Is he able to squat down and fight? We're talking about a guy who's about 215. So I don't think he has the measurables to truly play that position. I think if you really want to get great effort out of Harold Perkins, you got to find a position he can play every down on. You can't just use him as a situational player and think, yeah, we got the most out of him.
Preston Guy's our guest, tigerbait.com. You can find him all year round. You can find him on YouTube as well, talking LSU football. He's with us on Fridays. All right, national final is on Monday. We won't talk again before then, obviously. I imagine you've got a little bit of a vested interest in this one, at least from a social media perspective.
Yeah, I tell people, it's like, I would enjoy these games a lot more if the amount of online harassment and, attacks I had to deal with wasn't on the line here. But it is, and that's the career I've chosen. And frankly, I cannot complain because unlike most people in the world, I'm paid to talk about sports. So I probably need to suck it up and deal with it. But I'll say this, from a strictly analytical standpoint of this game and how it impacts LSU, you are left with more questions if Marcus Freeman's able to find a way to win this game and achieve something that Brian Kelly wasn't in 12 years. And it's going to be Brian Kelly's job to ultimately answer these questions because Brian Kelly turns around and wins a national championship next year. They're all resolved, but we have to ask questions. Why was Marcus Freeman able to win a national championship in 3 years when Brian Kelly wasn't able to do it in 12? Now if he loses it, we can say, well, Brian Kelly did that too. He made it to a national championship and 2, playoff semifinal games as well. So certainly he's made it to this point, but winning that's where you have to start asking questions. Is the answer to that, well, no, it was just an easier year and things aligned. It was a crazy, funky year in college football. Is it that Marcus Freeman is that great of a coach and Brian Kelly may still be very good and good enough to win a championship, and Marcus Freeman was that next level? It could be a ton of factors, and football is a weird sport, but you have to ask the questions if Marcus Freeman wins this game. Now, that being said, I'm sure LSU fans would be a lot more confident and comfortable in what they have should Ohio State pull the win as it is favored to do.
I did not watch a ton of Riley Leonard football from September through Thanksgiving. I've watched more than I cared to over the last 6 weeks. I just find it hard to believe that guy is going to beat Ohio State. That to me seems unlikely. Is that where you are?
Yeah, I concur. Now, it's a tough, gritty style of football he plays. He runs, gets good yardage, doesn't turn the ball over. But I believe against Penn State, I think, what was it, either Penn State or Georgia, he had like 90 yards passing in that game. He's not a prolific passer. Yeah, Georgia. Okay, all right. So he's not like this hyper-prolific guy who's going to go out there and hang 400 yards. And you have to wonder, okay, if you're in a situation where you're down 10 points in the third quarter, is he the guy who's going to go out there and lead the game with his arm? I don't know that we've necessarily seen that out of Notre Dame this year. I am curious to see how he reacts, or is he just going to be that Notre Dame's defense continues to dominate and put him in positions where he can be safe and calculated with the ball? I'll be interested to see. I don't have a ton of faith in him being that guy to take over the game and pass for 250 if he absolutely needs to. I don't see it, and I don't see the defense being so good they shut out Ohio State the way it's playing right now.
You give Jaden a chance in Detroit tomorrow night?
Yes. But that's probably the best team you're going to face in this playoff. But that's as tough as a matchup as you can ask. But,
yeah.
Jaden Daniels is a freak, and he's being efficient at levels we've rarely seen out of rookies. And if Jaden Daniels goes out there and pops off and has a 500 total yard game with 5 touchdowns, am I really going to be shocked? Are you going to be that shocked? We've seen just insane things, but Detroit's the better football team.
I think so, too. Enjoy the football this weekend. We'll talk next week, Preston. Thanks.
All right. Hunt, see you soon.
Preston Guy, tigerbait.com is where you can find him. And you can find him on Twitter, whether Notre Dame wins or loses on Monday, because he's sparring with the Irish and has been since Brian Kelly took this job 3 years ago. We got lots to do over the next 90 minutes. When we come back, we will chat about the NFL playoffs to come, including Jaden Daniels against those Detroit Lions. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Beck, you can open your mic during this live read. Do you have electricity at the moment?
I do.
Wow, amazing stuff. Did you have it yesterday?
Not for about 5 hours.
That's inconvenient at the very, very best, just negligent at the worst. Boudreaux's Electric can make you not like Beck because you would have electricity. You would never lose electricity like the Becks, who have not called Boudreaux's Electrical to this point yet. That's okay. I think they can still make that happen in the coming days. You can do it today. 985-397-1562, 225-300-9389. Those are the two phone numbers. Or you can do the easy way. Go online to boudreauxelectrical.com. Give yourself the peace of mind to know the power is not going to go out on you. Every single Generac home standby generator that you purchase from Boudreaux's Electrical comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty, and a full-time employee is going to do that installation, not somebody they just contract out to go get the job done. Find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, I was at the first pitch banquet last night. Chatted with Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan, Josh Pearson, Shay Shores, Jared Jones, and Gavin Guidry, along with Jay Johnson. Got some stories from that I'll get to at the end of this hour. But NFL playoffs, divisional round coming up tomorrow. Starts at 3:30 in the typical Texans time slot. They'll occupy the Saturday afternoon slate. But there are 4 games, and it should be an incredible weekend of NFL football to come. Wanted to give some thoughts on all those games I mentioned. Saturday at 3:30, the Chiefs will host the Texans. It's the 1 seed versus the 4 seed. Chiefs are 8-point favorite in this game. And we talked about the Chiefs a lot this year and just how they've kind of appeared to scrape by, but scrape by every week. It has been an anomaly. A lot of times when you get these elite teams, they just dominate more weeks than not, and the Chiefs really didn't. And I think one of the statistics that tells their story really well is that they were the best team in the NFL on third down. They converted 48.5%. And you think of third down offense as not necessarily being all that sustainable because you're walking a high wire far too often, but they've been awesome all year. The Texans are one of the NFL's best on third down, only giving up 35.9%. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Derek Stingley is one of the best corners in the NFL and has been a big piece to that. Texans defense also features Will Anderson, who had 11 sacks and 30 pressures this year. I think personally that Will Anderson is the key to this game. If Will Anderson can put pressure on the Chiefs' offensive line and get back there towards Mahomes and affect him early, I think that's the best chance that the Texans have to win this game. Here's a nugget from ESPN.com that I found really, really interesting. You're talking about an officiating crew that will referee this game in Kansas City that led the NFL in holding calls. The Chiefs had the second most holding calls in the NFL this year. If Will Anderson and company can get the Chiefs behind the chains with holding calls and or sacks, I think they've got a chance to hold up on third down, and I think that the Texans can go to Arrowhead and win the game. I'm not going to pick them to win the game. I absolutely like them with 8 points. I love the Texans with 8 points in this game. I'll take the Chiefs to win it, but inside that 8. Then the nightcap, the one that certainly we'll be talking about down here, is the Commanders, the 6th seed in the NFC, at the Lions, the number 1 seed in the NFC. Jaden Daniels' QBR on third and fourth down this year is 93.5. He threw 12 touchdowns against 2 interceptions on third and fourth down this year. How about this on fourth down? Now, Dan Quinn's been really aggressive on fourth down. Washington has often gone for it on fourth downs. They did twice in that game last weekend when they could have kicked field goals to draw within 1. There's a reason, I guess, he's so aggressive. On fourth downs, Jaden Daniels this year is 8 for 8 with 2 touchdowns and 7 first downs. That's incredible stuff. He has not thrown an incompletion. Unbelievable. The Lions lead the NFL in yards after the catch on the other side of the ball. However, the Commanders are the best at not allowing run after the catch. That's going to be a huge key in this game as Jared Goff gets it out to those weapons, St. Brown and all those guys. And then they are generally making plays after that. Certainly Jahmyr Gibbs is explosive as anybody in the sport. The Commanders have been good at limiting that, at tackling, getting guys to the ground. This over-under is 55.5 in this game. That's the highest in a playoff game since the Bucs-Chiefs Super Bowl a few years back. So they expect this game to be up and down. And I think that if you look at the Lions, they've been a high-scoring team that has given up a lot of points and yards because they've been so hurt. And the Commanders have a great quarterback. So I don't personally think that Washington is ready to go win this game. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be keeping an eye on this as LSU's playing Texas A&M in basketball on Saturday night. But I think there are going to be quite a few people that do pick them because of 5. He's won that many people over at the back end of last year, and then certainly with what he's done in his first year in the NFL. I'll take the Lions. I think the number here, I think I saw is 5. No, that's not right. I didn't write it down. I had them as a 1 seed. Beck, pull up the number there.
It is 9.5.
9.5. Yeah, I knew it was closer to 10. I saw that 5, and that's not the right number. So yeah, that's a lot, and I wouldn't even be comfortable taking the Commanders with the points, quite frankly. I'm hopeful, but I just think the Lions are just a better football team right now than Washington is. So I'll take the Lions in that game. Then Sunday, you got a pair of matchups. The Rams are at the Eagles. The Rams are the 4 seed, the Eagles the 2 seed. Philly is a 6-point favorite in this game. They played this game previously, and it didn't go so hot for the Rams. They gave up 314 rushing yards to Philadelphia. Saquon had 255 of them. My fantasy team, Baton Rouge's Eeyore, we appreciated that very much, with Saquon's probably like 50 points in that game. I don't imagine that's going to happen again. It's never happened in league history where a running back ran for 200 against a team and then ran for 200 again in the playoffs against them. I would bet against Saquon going over 2 bills, but I still think that the Eagles are going to run the ball like crazy, and they need to because the Rams pass rush really got after Sam Darnold back on Monday. 8 Rams had at least half a sack against the Vikings on Monday. That's the most in the playoffs since they started keeping track in 1982. But you can't rush the passer if you're the Rams if you can't stop Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts from running the ball. So clearly that's going to be object number one for the Eagles, and clearly I think that's very much the key to the game. I kind of like the Rams to go to Philly and win. It's an odd feeling I have. I like their coach a ton. Stafford is not going to be shook. It's going to be chilly up there, but I think the Rams may be primed for a little bit of an upset there if they can slow down the Eagles running the ball. And then the one everybody wants to watch on Sunday evening, the Ravens at the Bills up in Orchard Park. The Bills are catching a point in this game, and that's noteworthy. It's the first time the Bills have been a home dog in 43 games. They have not been a home dog since 2020. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are superstars. They're the top 2 rushing quarterbacks in NFL playoff history. No quarterback has run for more yards than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the history of the playoffs. Now, Derrick Henry ran for 199 on Buffalo in Week 4. That was a game back in Baltimore, and Baltimore destroyed Buffalo in that game. I think that I would expect the Bills to put up a little bit bigger fight defensively than let Derrick Henry essentially go for 200 yards. This is a crazy stat to me on 2 different levels. One, I think it's crazy that both of these teams were plus 157 in the regular season. They had the exact same point differential. That's crazy to me. What's even crazier is that this has happened 6 other times that teams have met in the playoffs with the same regular season point differential. Last time was the Super Bowl between the Eagles and Patriots back in the 2017 season in 2018 Super Bowl. I like the Ravens to go on the road and win this. I like both road teams in Sunday's games. And I think I give the Texans a fighting chance as well. So while the home teams have traditionally dominated this round, I'm not necessarily in that boat this weekend. I want to get y'all's thoughts on it here. Beck, you're looking at this board. What's got your eye? Jordan, I'm coming to you next.
I think I'm with you on the Texans. The Chiefs just haven't shown that they are going to score a lot of points this season. And the Texans' defense is pretty good. So if it's I think it'll be a low-scoring game, and I think the Texans can maybe get, if they gets into like a field goal situation, then they can run away with this one and get it and win it by a field goal. I think it's possible because the Chiefs just haven't really. They've blown out some people, but it hasn't been by they haven't been outscored. It hasn't been often and hasn't been outscoring a lot of people. So I think that one is going to be close. I would probably take the Texans there on the spread on that one. And
I love the Texans plus the 8. Love them.
Yeah, that's really, I really like that too. And then the Ravens and the Bills, man. Of course, that the game is in Orchard Park, so it's going to be freezing. I don't know if it's going to be snowing or not, but
probably
either way, and that will have a big part of that game. But I still like the Bills. I've liked them since the beginning of the season.
Riding with the Bills.
It's been one of the few things that I've been right about this year. But so
Vanderbilt.
far, yeah, Vanderbilt. I was right about Vanderbilt. I'll take that one. But I like the Bills in that one. And maybe whoever wins that game wins the MVP. I don't know. We'll see. But other than that, I'm with the Lions. I think win by 2 scores, and then I think the Eagles as well. The Rams aren't very good.
All right, I kind of like the Rams going up there. Jordan, if you could only watch one game this weekend, what would it be?
If I only could watch one, it's easily Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen.
I think so.
But my upset of the week is definitely going Rams over Eagles. I like the Rams a lot. I like Matt Stafford, Nakua, Cooper Kupp, cooking, young defense.
I like McVay. That's who.
I like McVay too. Yes.
He was awesome in the game against the Vikings. I thought they looked great in that game, and I think he's such a good coach. They're in the middle of kind of reshuffling the deck after they went for it all with that Super Bowl, and now obviously with Aaron Donald retiring, and they've had to change some things that they're doing. But he's a really, really good coach. It's one of those deals where you don't mind a couple of lower seasons because you know that you've got the right guy. You just got to retool the roster, and I think they've done that. I like. The Eagles have been great this year. They've been awesome.
Shaky. I don't know what it is about them. I don't know if it's the Jalen Hurts not passing offense.
If Saquon Barkley runs for 185 and 3 touchdowns, they're gonna win.
Yeah.
But do the Rams have enough to stand there and stop him? Which my fantasy team was hoping no, but those guys are toast. So now it's time to watch real football, and I'm curious to see how that goes. So should be an awesome weekend in the NFL. We'll certainly be watching. We'll react to it all coming up on Monday's show. All right, last night we were at the Crown Plaza for the first pitch banquet. Some baseball thoughts when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. They're on Airline, near Piku, across from Women's Hospital. Get on by the facility. It really was so impressive to me. I have been in a lot of car dealerships and on a lot of service aisles because in the insurance business, I worked with auto dealers. And so most of the time you walk into a service aisle and you're like, ugh. You walk into a car dealership, it's kind of sterile. You kind of know what you're getting. This is a first-class experience. It feels like you're in a 4-star hotel when you walk in there. They've got the rock waterfall in there. The ambiance, the Wi-Fi is fantastic. They got the big coffee machine and all the snacks laid out. Their staff is so hospitable. You're going to feel like a guest there, not a customer. And that goes for if you're there to potentially purchase a vehicle or if you buy a vehicle and you're there for the maintenance, which, by the way, is complimentary for 3 years for everyone that buys a Genesis at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Get on by and check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, you're probably going to be on Airline Highway. Get on by at Genesis of Baton Rouge and just see. Because when you think luxury, you should think Genesis. When you think Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, Jumbo Gulf Shrimp, crispy fried catfish, those crispy shoestring fries as well. Got the honey butter rolls, beignet bites. Get on by Government between Foster and Jefferson. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Looking for a po' boy. No better spot in Baton Rouge for a po' boy than Corks. Big old fried shrimp po' boy or delicious catfish po' boy. They got you covered over there at Corks. They bring you our Friday shows each and every week. You know, it's easy to go to the box in June It's easy to turn on the TV in May when you're coming down the stretch and see the passion that Baton Rouge and this state have for LSU baseball. I've had that almost my entire life, and certainly when I moved down here in 2006, that even grew deeper, getting to go to every single game down here. And y'all know how I'm wired. I love baseball. The LSU baseball program is my favorite team in the world. But it's different instances that are outside the box where I truly get an appreciation for just how much this place loves baseball. It's like I'm going to go to Rouse's today, and I doubt anyone asks me about the football team. I will get 4 people that will come up to me over the course of the 2 hours I'm there that want to hear about the baseball team. And that always amazes me. I can do a Twitter Ask Me Anything in August. Who's going to be the weekend rotation almost always pops up. And that always amazes me. And nights like last night more reinforce that. The ballroom at the Crowne Plaza last night was completely full for the first pitch banquet. Completely full. To eat some chicken breasts and green beans and watch a highlight video on the screen, hear Jay Johnson talk for 10 minutes, hear a Q&A with Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan for the current players, get a baseball sign for the kiddo, and just like be around a bunch of people in purple and gold. That event, what I watched last night, doesn't really happen many places. I'm certain they couldn't do it in Gainesville. I'm confident they couldn't do it in Auburn. I think they could do it in College Station. I think they could do it in Starkville. Maybe. Those are smaller towns. But last night was incredible. And one of the things I took away from it, Jay Johnson spoke to the crowd. And this is not like inside information. This was a public banquet we were at. His speech took a little bit of a different tone last night. And one that was not surprising at all, but I noticed. He talked about the team a little bit, but usually he goes through kind of what he's talked to the team about and what you can expect in terms of style of play and all that kind of stuff. Last night, he made sure to let those people know that were in that number, hey, we need you. Because if you want to continue to be at the top of this sport and to have great players come through, it can't just be the staff going out there and telling them how great LSU is at baseball. They need help financially to make it happen. And I know that doesn't make a lot of people feel awesome. That's just the way some people are wired. I don't want to talk about that. It doesn't make it false. It's the reality. And it was interesting to hear Jay. He certainly wasn't begging or pleading. He was just reinforcing like, hey, if you want this thing to hum, I can do it, but we need your help. And he was appreciative of the help that they've gotten, and he feels really comfortable with where the program is right now. But it was interesting to kind of hear that. I'll add one anecdote. Those of you that have walked up to the box right near home plate on the first base side, you've seen some reserved parking spots. Jay Johnson's got one. Skip Bertman's got one. Scott Woodward's got one. And there's another one that came open in July. And they auctioned it off last night. And there was a bidding war. And it got up to $18,000 for this parking spot for the season. And then someone ran up to Ronnie Rance and said, hey, we can make 2. There were 2 bidding back and forth up to $18,000. So they got a separate parking spot and each paid $18,000 for this parking spot. They raised $36,000 for 2 parking spots, which I thought was awesome. And Jay Johnson got on the mic and said, look, I've got one of those reserve spots. If somebody else wants it for $18K, I'll Uber to the games. And that's kind of where we are at this point. But that part was funny. I got the mic after that, and I said, look, I've done post-game shows for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I've done post-game shows for Jaden Daniels. I've done post-game show from the national championship game. I've never grabbed a microphone after a $36,000 parking spot was auctioned off. That was a new one for me. But here we were last night in January in the Crowne Plaza. This is a town that's buzzing for this baseball season. We're certainly going to start talking about it. They will open their practice officially coming up a week from today, Friday of next week. Jay Johnson will have a Q&A with the media. Some players will talk after that. and then they'll have their first practice and first scrimmage. Hopefully the freezing cold weather that's coming early next week is out of there. They can get out in the field and get some work done. But we've gotten to practice. We're a week out from there, and then you're talking about 4 weeks essentially from getting things started against Omaha, Nebraska, which is a fitting team to play based on starting the season and where you want to finish the season. We'll start talking about all that coming up here next week. All right, we got one more hour to go. You're listening to a Friday edition right here of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NFL's divisional weekend kicks off tomorrow with 2 games. The Chiefs hosting the Texans, then the Lions host the Commanders. And with the tournament down to 8 teams now, ESPN's Dan Graziano says there may not be any more head coaching jobs available.
I think it's likely that all the openings have been created. I know there are people that would tell you, ooh, watch out if the Eagles lose. Could Sirianni be on shaky footing? I've never heard anything like that from anyone who would be involved in the decision.
Dan Graziano on Unsportsmanlike. Ravens wideout Zay Flowers may play Sunday against the Bills, even though he didn't practice all week. Flowers hurt his right knee in the regular season finale. The other game Sunday features the Eagles and the Rams. Joel Embiid will miss the 76ers' upcoming 3-game road trip with swelling in his left knee. He's played only 13 games this season. Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran avoids arbitration. He'll sign a 1-year deal worth almost $4 million with an $8 million team option for 2026.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Monday, the College Football National Championship is finally here. And I'll tell you who wins and why. It's Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Last hour of the work week here, kind of for us. I got to go to Rouse's 3 to 5, but that's not really work. That's a lot of fun. I always enjoy going to Rouse's from 3 to 5. Hope you'll join me there, the Burbank and Lee location. We'll be there coming up 1 hour from right now. As I said in the first hour, give me till about 3:10. I get off the air at 2:56. Got to grab the keys, get on down, and head down Nicholson. But I'll be there in pretty short order. You can come on by and see us there at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. We got lots to do in this hour as well, and excited for it. One of the things about the SEC being as good as it is in basketball, and seeing these Saturday slates, like, you can't help but have like 2 heavyweight fights every single Saturday in this league. And certainly I wouldn't put LSU and Texas A&M in that category, and we talked about that game back to lead off the show. You can catch that breakdown at Hoops with Hunt, wherever you find your sound. But there are 2 heavyweight fights in Saturday's slate outside of that game, and it starts at 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time when Alabama goes to Rupp. This is going to be as beautiful an offensive showcase as the SEC has to offer. I think Auburn's the best team, and they can get going offensively too. There's no question about that. But Bama, when they're right, which they certainly were not in the game against Ole Miss on Tuesday, when they're right, is really tough to deal with and have been for years. And Mark Pope has got Kentucky moving and playing with rhythm, and he's got skilled players, and it just doesn't look like Cal. And I feel like there's probably some of you out there that listen to me and you're like, God, that guy just hates John Calipari. I don't really hate John Calipari, and I think that Kentucky had the right guy at a certain time, but his time passed. And so then you saw him trying to cobble together this group of like 5 stars, and he got Sheboy in there, and but the game passed him. And I think Arkansas is going to learn that. And Mark Pope comes in there, and that team from a talent perspective is not quite what Cal had over those years, but they played well. And I mean, you're looking at a Kentucky team offensively that has just been humming for the better course of really a month. You look at what they did to score 81 points against Texas A&M, who's a good defensive team. They went to Mississippi State and scored 95. They played Florida in an absolute shootout at Rupp and scored 106. Now, look, they played Ohio State and got beat by 20 points. Like, they scored 65 that day. So it's not perfect. I'm not picking Kentucky to win the national championship or anything. But when they're humming, like, they're really good on offense too, and they'll have that home crowd behind them tomorrow. And like, I expect that game to be up and down the floor and as high level a game as the SEC can really offer. You're talking about Bama at 3-1 in league play, number 4 in the country, and Kentucky at 3-1 in league play, number 8 in the country. So a top 10 showdown erupt. That one should be absolutely awesome. And then the other one that I've absolutely got my eye on, even though Mississippi State's record is not that good at 2-2 in league play, they've got a good team, and they're at the hump. And who's coming to town? Chris Beard and the Ole Miss Rebels, fresh off a trip to Tuscaloosa where they won. I don't have Otter Locks for tomorrow for LouisianaSports.net, and Jimmy doesn't come on Matt's show at night. I guarantee you, Jimmy Ott will have a nickel on Mississippi State tomorrow. That is a court rush fade, even though they didn't rush the court. It was on the road. You're talking about a team with that kind of emotional exertion. Ole Miss goes to Tuscaloosa where no one's supposed to win and wins that game like pretty comfortably. Then they got to rally the troops again and go on the road to their hated rival. You know that place is going to be sold out. You know that place is going to be going crazy. I don't know what the number is, but I bet Jimmy Ott has got Mississippi State, and I think that game is going to be an absolute meat grinder. Those two guys, Chris Jans and Chris Beard, are as good at defensive coaches as there are in the Southeastern Conference. And they've got some teams that can score, but aren't necessarily the most gifted scoring teams. I think that's going to be the opposite of Alabama and Kentucky, and just a meat grinder that's probably played around 70. And I like Mississippi State to win that game over Ole Miss. I think we'll just have to see. There's one more ranked on ranked showdown in the SEC tomorrow. That's number 1 Auburn, who's 16-1 on the season. The only loss that Auburn has all year is at Cameron Indoor against Duke in the ACC Challenge. They'll go to Georgia to face Mike White's Georgia team, who, candidly, I'm not fully buying into at this point. They are ranked. Tennessee thumped them in Knoxville, as you would expect, back in the midweek. They did beat Kentucky in Athens. They held them to 69 points and beat them by 3. But I just don't know that I'm completely buying in on Georgia. Their best non-conference win was a good one over St. John's. They lost to Marquette, and that's really the only time they were tested in the non-conference. Came out of the slate in the conference play. They went to Ole Miss and got beat by 8. Then they won a couple games against Kentucky and an Oklahoma team that I think is a little bit overrated, and then they got crushed by Tennessee. So I think that Georgia's up against it. In fact, I think they could lose their next 3 games. That would be a 4-game losing streak. I think they'll lose to Auburn tomorrow. I think they could go to Arkansas and lose that game, and then they're at Florida, and I don't expect them to go to the O-Dome and win before South Carolina comes to town. So for me, I think that Georgia is a bit of a paper tiger, being ranked 23rd, but I guess we'll see. The rest of the league slate, to kind of run through it briefly, Tennessee is at Vanderbilt. I expect Tennessee to go there and roll. Vanderbilt did get a win earlier this week. That's their first win since they went to Baton Rouge and won. Texas, who's got their first win, Oklahoma, back on Wednesday. That was, by the way, a 9 o'clock local tip-off. Seems a little ridiculous, quite frankly. But that's what they tipped that game off, and Texas was able to win it in Norman. But they'll go to the O-Dome. I think Florida's good. I think Florida will handle Texas in that game. Oklahoma faces South Carolina. Somebody's got to win, but somebody's got to go to 0-5 as well. That's a pair of 0-4 teams that'll play in Norman at the Lloyd Noble Center. I got to learn these new venues. I didn't know the
Do
Lloyd
you have
Noble
to, though?
Center.
Can you just call them what they've always been?
What was it?
I don't know. Well, was it just called the...
Perfect. I don't know what it was, but it's the Lloyd Noble Center now. I'm not going to learn the new ones that I already knew old ones.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not learning whatever Exact Tech, whatever O-Dome was. I'm not a Whole Foods Center or whatever Superfood Center or whatever they're calling it in Knoxville. That's the Tommy Bowl, no doubt. But I didn't ever knew what they called Oklahoma's venue.
Not going to call... Well, you're not... Oh, so... Okay.
And Texas just built a brand new one that
Yeah,
LSU's
yeah.
modeling theirs after
Right.
the Moody Center. So I can
Yeah, the
call it
Moody.
that. I'm good with that. But I'm not changing my stripes on iconic names from the conference that have just been bought by sponsors that I don't care about. I will not. You know this about me. I'm not going to kowtow to the sponsors and leave tradition.
Your
out.
integrity is too strong for that.
Exactly. And they're not paying me. If they were to pay me, then I might change my tune. But Exact Tech's not giving me a nickel to say the Exact Tech O'Connell Center, so we're going with O-Dome.
The Lloyd Noble Center, that's been the name of it since it was built.
See, perfect. And
1975.
I can get on board with that, but I didn't know it. So here we are. And I don't know. I know Dish Falk is Texas's baseball field. Got no idea on Oklahoma's. And I know that they auctioned off to fly on the team plane last night at the baseball banquet to go to Oklahoma, but I don't know what their baseball field is called. I know they came here and played one of the greatest baseball games I've ever watched at Alec Box Stadium when Jonathan Gray and Aaron Nola went toe-to-toe, but I can't tell you what Oklahoma's baseball field is called. It sounds like you can.
I was looking it up, and it looks like – okay, hold on. This is – all right. All right, now you look at the schedule.
All right.
And it is called is it Dale Mitchell Park, I think?
Dale Mitchell. I don't know.
Dale Mitchell Park. Yes, that is the name of their home baseball.
Dale Mitchell Park is correct. I actually Googled Oklahoma Baseball Stadium. What came up was the Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, which is the name of their football stadium.
Yeah.
So they're that's not boding well for their SEC baseball prowess when I Google their baseball stadium and the football stadium pops up. That's like the rest of the country.
They do have a turf mound, it looks like, for pitching, so that's not great.
We'll see if Cam Johnson can get used to that.
But
see how he likes that.
It is named for the mid-1940s Sooner Letterman, who still holds OU's career and single season batting records.
Okay.
Built in 1982.
Work. Way to go, Dale. Excellent work there, swinging the bat and pitching. Excellent work. So that's just a snapshot of the SEC in basketball tomorrow. I'll have my eyes on Arkansas and Missouri as well. I'm curious to see Arkansas goes up there and goes to 0-4, and that would make Missouri 4-1. Just a random aside here on like basketball programs here and there. Like Missouri right now, to me, is kind of proving what the landscape of college basketball really can be. Sure, as long as Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl are coaching there at Auburn and Alabama, it feels like they're going to have really good basketball teams. They have the last 5 years. They both got their feet on the ground. Like, they seem to be a pillar of consistency. But like Missouri, under Dennis Gates 2 years ago, makes the tournament in his first year. He brings his Cleveland State guys over there, hits a couple portal guys. They go to the NCAA tournament. Last year, they were a laughingstock. They went 0-18 in the league. Like, did not win a game. 0-18 is hard to do. We've seen some LSU basketball teams that weren't real good. They usually get 2 or 3 wins. 0-18 is terrible. They go 0-18. This year, they come back, same coach, couple new players. They beat Kansas in the non-conference, and if they beat Arkansas at home tomorrow, they'll be 4-1 in the league. Like, it's so volatile, and it's the point of, like, a lot of programs, well, I shouldn't even say it, a lot of programs are year to year. I don't even know a better way to say it, but it's not even that you've got this like steady thing that you always are. Like Mike Bianco for Ole Miss baseball. They were the same for like 15 years. They were a top 20 team, sometimes hosted, sometimes didn't, were usually good enough to get into a regional, sometimes win it, went to super, but they were never terrible, they were never elite. And that was kind of the way his program was. Now with the transfer portal, especially in basketball, where it's up and down like crazy and guys are going in and going out, like you look at your team year to year, you may be 0-18, you may be 12-6. Like it's just wildly inconsistent with so many basketball programs across the country. It's just so different than it was 5 or 6 years ago, where everybody kind of took their place in the Southeastern Conference hierarchy. I couldn't place Missouri currently because they're all over the map, and it gives hope to those teams that aren't very good, and I guess shines a light on the guys that are doing a great job that don't have those dips year over year. So that's a look at the SEC in basketball coming up on Saturday. LSU and Texas A&M are the nightcap on the SEC network. It's a 7:30 tip-off there from Reed Arena. So we got about 45 minutes to go. Come back with us here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carver and his team just do fantastic work. Insurance is not a ton of fun to talk about. We know that. But sometimes you have to have that talk, like a lot of people in California are these days with those fires, and you know that the next hurricane season's right around the corner. Don't just simply pick your insurance policy because one premium in this column is cheaper than that one. Premium's always important, and the Highland Insurance Group knows that, and they're going to keep that in mind for you. But you do need to concern yourself with what those coverages say, what those exclusions say, what those amendments to your policy may say, endorsements, those type of things. That's where Highland Insurance Group makes the difference. They're going to go through your policy. They're going to dissect the entire thing, and they're going to find any issues that may be there. And it may save you some money, or it may save you on the back end when you're covered for something that you may not have been covered for previously. Again, insurance is not the most fun thing to talk about, but it's even worse if you've got an uncovered loss. So go to the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com. They've got dozens of markets that can help place your commercial insurance, and they'd love to help you. They're right here in Baton Rouge. They're online at HighlandIG.com. That's the Highland Insurance Group.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
The NFL draft intrigues me for a lot of different reasons. Beck, try to work with me on this, because this may sound like the dumbest thing I've ever said in 4 years on radio. Like, it may be. I'm always amazed at the amount of consensus that opinions generate on the top, 45 players in the draft. In my head, if you just evaluated the players and there were that many players, it would be so unlikely to me that 7 different draft analysts would think that the top 20 guys were just the top 20 guys. I would think that one person would have this guy second and one would have him 98th. It's such a subjective thing, yet there's always so much synergy in the draft, even among teams. And that would make sense if all the guys always panned out.
Yeah.
If the top 15 always were awesome, okay, well, they clearly saw that. But inevitably, 7 of the top 15 suck. And yet everyone thinks they're good when they go into the draft. That part is always hard for me to reconcile. I don't think I'm expressing it properly, but it's just crazy to me how everyone thinks the same about most of these players. I'm not talking about 6th and 7th rounders. I'm talking about the top 100 guys. And it doesn't always work out, is I guess what I'm saying. It's a weird science.
It is, and I almost feel like maybe the problem is, and when I say problem, I mean, why I say problem is because it's almost like maybe all of these draft analysts it's like they're afraid that if they're not saying if they're not saying what everybody else is saying, then people are going to think they're stupid or their opinions aren't valid because they think, oh, wow, this guy is ranked 12th. They have him ranked 50th. He must be dumb. I'm not going to read what he has to say.
I mean, I'm thinking about just complete busts of first round. everyone thought Trevor Penning was awesome. It took him like 3 years to even have a pulse. Like Evan Neal who's from Alabama, who went to the Giants, like he can't play, and like everyone thought he was awesome. It's just, I don't know, it's a weird type deal. And I prefaced that by saying that I heard yesterday on Matt's show, he had a draft analyst on, and a direct quote out of that guy's mouth was, it's got to be a consensus among, if you asked 100 draft analysts, 100 of them would say that Will Campbell is the best blocker in this class. And that to me was like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think that's true at all. Like, I hear Kelvin Banks' name all the time as opposed to Will Campbell. Like, I don't hear a lot of people say, yeah, that Will Campbell guy can't play a lick, but I certainly hear a lot of folks say that Kelvin Banks is the best. And then I saw a story on ESPN.com today where ESPN had 4 different draft analysts, Kuiper, Miller, Reed, and Yates, all give their top 5 players at every position on the field. And so I said, okay, well, I just heard a draft analyst yesterday on Matt's show say that everyone says Will Campbell's the best. So let me go look. And I looked at offensive tackle, and it started with Mel Kiper. And he said Kelvin Banks, number 1. He also said Will Campbell, number 2. I looked at Field Yates, who's on this, and he had Will Campbell, number 1, with Kelvin Banks, number 2. Okay, we're on the same wavelength here. These 2 guys are the best 2. But then you look at Miller and Reed, and I'll read you Matt Miller's top 5 offensive tackles. Kelvin Banks, Texas, number 1. Okay, we know that. Josh Simmons, Ohio State, number 2. Okay. Number 3, Josh Connerly from Oregon. Number 4, Airtone Ursi, Minnesota. I haven't gotten to Will Campbell yet. Number 5, Cameron Williams at Texas. Matt Miller does not have Will Campbell in his top 5 offensive tackles. Well, I'll go down to Reed. What does he say about the offensive tackles? Kelvin Banks, number 1. Okay. So we got 3 of the 4 that say Kelvin Banks is the number 1 tackle. Reed says Josh Simmons of Ohio State, number 2. Same deal. He says Armand Membu of Missouri is number 3 offensive tackle. Josh Connerly of Oregon, number 4 at tackle. Airtone Ursi, Minnesota, number 5. So Miller and Reed don't have Will Campbell in their top 5. That shocked me. That shocked me. I was like, that is different than the groupthink I always look at. So what's the deal? And I kept scrolling through. Oh, Matt Miller. Offensive guards, Will Campbell, number 1. Reed, offensive guards, Will Campbell, number 1. That is a little bit different. Not that it was the first time that I've heard someone say that Will Campbell might be a guard. But to me, to see 2 of the 4, 50%, not classify him as the second best tackle, third best tackle, to say that, yeah, that's a guard, that to me was a little bit surprising. Like, a little bit surprising. To me, Will Campbell is a tackle that you draft to play tackle, and if you've got to Andrus Peat him and plug him in at guard, and you think he might be an elite player at that level, maybe so.
I guess I wonder, though, did Reed and Miller, did they not rank him at all in tackle? They just solely ranked him at guard? Correct. Or they also rank him in tackle maybe at like 10 or something?
I think you're putting everybody into a pigeonhole here. And for them, Will Campbell is a guard.
Okay.
And so it's I think the knock on Campbell is the arm length. I think that's probably what we're going to hear. And trust me, nobody's here to watch me scout players and tell you exactly how they fit into the NFL. That is not why I'm sitting in this chair 1 to 3 every day. But I think that's probably what you're going to hear. Because, like, as far as pass protection goes at offensive tackle, I don't know that you've had a better 3-year run than Will Campbell's. How many sacks did he allow? Like 4 in 3 years? 5? Yes. For 2 of those years, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen was behind him. Yes, that matters. And Garrett Nussmeier did get the ball out very quickly this year, but he ain't exactly Jaden Daniels or Carl Lewis back there evading pass rushes. Like, he's got his limitations with mobility. And Campbell, I thought from a pass protection standpoint, was excellent. I guess the question becomes, if you don't think he's a tackle, you don't think that trait carries over to the best pass rushers in the country, in the world, in the NFL, or you just think that the measurables dictate that he's got to move down? Not the tape, the measurables. I'm not concerned if I'm Will Campbell. Like the guy Matt had on yesterday had him going third in the mock. There's a lot of moving and shaking that's going to go on here over the next 3 months, and we know that. But Will Campbell's going to be the first round pick LSU's had on the offensive line in decades. And where he ends up playing, I don't know if it's that big a deal. Maybe that's easy for me to say because I'm not the one who's catching that check, and maybe because tackles get paid way more, he's really, really pushing that side of it. But I find it hard to believe, as I sit here in January, I find it hard to believe that someone is going to draft Will Campbell in the first 20 picks of the draft, maybe the first 15, maybe the first 10, maybe the first 5. I find it hard someone's going to draft him at that slot and immediately walk him right to guard. I don't find it hard to believe that he goes out there for minicamp and he starts training camp and he plays 2 preseason games and he kicks to guard. I don't find that hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that they will draft him and say, that's a guard. Maybe it happens. I mean, all the time, college tackles get kicked into guard. All the time. But it feels like if you're going to take a player that high, you would really like to slot him in at tackle, because the only thing better than a cheap high-end tackle is a cheap high-end quarterback and maybe a cheap high-end edge rusher. Everything else is less cost effective than tackle. Like you're going to end up, if you're going to go to free agent for a tackle, you're going to spend a lot of money. I would rather have one of my early draft picks that's on the cheap go out there and play tackle. So we'll see. This is semantics to a degree, having NFL draft analysts guess what actual teams are going to do. If I'm an NFL team, I'm not in a hurry to tell Mel Kiper or Matt Miller, yeah, we got the 6th pick, we got Campbell as a guard, we're thinking of taking him. Like I don't think those conversations are happening all the time. So I'm not suggesting this is gospel, but it is a little bit different than the usual groupthink. And for a guy that hadn't played a single snap at guard since maybe his freshman year of high school, Will Campbell was certainly a tackle at Neville and certainly never played guard at LSU. I feel like he's going to get that opportunity at the next level. If it has to kick down to guard at some point, so be it. I just don't know if that's a guarantee, like it looks like 2 of these draft analysts believe to be the case. So plenty of time to talk about the NFL draft, but Will Campbell figures to be a pretty rich dude here in the coming weeks. All right, we got 30 minutes to go. Stick with us. It is a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think luxury vehicle, think Genesis. I know when I say luxury vehicle, there are some brand names that maybe flash in your head. They've been around a little bit longer, and that's okay, but give Genesis a shot. Get on by. Whether you're in the market for a sedan, whether you're looking for an SUV, they've got you covered, and their motto really over there at Genesis is a luxury vehicle and a luxury experience at a reasonable price. And you'll find that to be the case if you give them a shot over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You may not see a lot of Genesis on the road. You may have never been to the dealership. That's okay. It's fairly new, comparatively speaking, with a lot of the dealerships here in Baton Rouge. They've been at Airline and PQ almost 2 years. Maybe you hadn't been in the market over those 2 years. Maybe you are now. Get on by. You can lease. You can buy. If you do make that purchase, talking about 3 years of complimentary maintenance. You're talking about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. All that is possible at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. That's genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
A busy day on Airline Drive in Metairie, Louisiana today. The New Orleans Saints will conduct 2 interviews, one in person, one virtual, for their head coaching vacancy. Those are the rules, not the preference of the New Orleans Saints. You cannot interview a coach who is currently involved in the playoffs in person. They must be eliminated or done with their season. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, still alive. They've got a home game against Baltimore coming up on Sunday evening. Brady's going to take, what I would imagine, 2 hours out of his preparation time today, and he's going to chat with the Saints brass virtually about their head coaching vacancy. This is one that's gotten a lot of traction down here in South Louisiana because of Brady's ties, one, to the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era, and then I think more famously his ties, of course, to Steve Ensminger, Joe Burrow, and the greatest offense in the history of college football. I don't have any problem saying that. I'll keep saying that. Try to prove me wrong. And Joe Brady's influence on that was massive. There's no doubt about that. There's famously been on-the-record comments from Ed Ogeron saying that he looked at Steve Ensminger really after Alabama shut LSU out in 2018, and he said, Steve, we got to go to the spread. And Steve Ensminger, as the story goes, just kind of looked at Ed Ogeron and said, okay, well, bring in somebody to teach it to me, and we'll run it. Because, Steve Ensminger didn't grow up in the spread, played in the 70s, coached through the 80s and 90s, and no spread option there, unless you were at BYU. So they looked around, and Joe Brady gave a presentation at a coach's clinic on the screen game, and they had kind of liked what they saw there, and LSU reached out to Saints, hey, can we talk to this young guy, and brought him in, hired him. And he did help transform the LSU offense. Now, what we know now is not what we knew then. What we know now is not what we knew when they got on the plane to go to Austin, Texas in September. Okay? I'm looking right now at the current MVP votes in the National Football League, and Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson are all in the top 10. So you had an offense that had one of the best quarterbacks coming up, the two best wide receivers in the NFL right now, 5 offensive linemen that have started games in the NFL, Terrace Marshall, Thad Moss, and a first-round pick in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's still in the NFL, and Joe Brady walked into that situation. And he transformed it. Steve Ensminger deserves a ton of credit. Joe Brady deserves a ton of credit. Now, that's what he did at the college level, which certainly plays in this market. But what has he done since then? Well, he takes the OC job at the Panthers. And you got Matt Rule there, and that organization, as we know, was a mess then, and it's a mess now. And they didn't do much of anything offensively. He's eventually let go, and that's a failure in your first opportunity to be the offensive coordinator, not the co at LSU in the SEC, the offensive coordinator in the NFL. So what do you do from there? And Joe Brady was young and still had a lot of name recognition for what happened at LSU. So he was going to land on his feet. And inevitably, Buffalo scoops him up to coach quarterbacks. Well, guess what? You had some serendipity with all the things that happened in Baton Rouge, with all that talent being accumulated in one place. And then you go to Buffalo and you know what's there, and that's Josh Allen. Now, they've gone through a little bit of an overhaul as far as their personnel goes, but he was the quarterback's coach. He gets a chance to be the interim OC in 2023. That goes well. They say, all right, you've got the tag. And now the Bills are absolutely humming offensively. And you've got to know or understand, if you're a Saints fan, you're kind of evaluating this. Like, Joe Brady takes this job and comes into New Orleans with that offensive line and these weapons and that quarterback. Like, you shouldn't expect it to look like Josh Allen's Bills. But to me, I think the important thing is that Joe Brady has proven, in terms of running an offense, that if you do give him elite talent, he will produce elite results. I think you're kidding yourself if you're trying to find a coach to come coach your football team that is really great at taking mediocre dudes and being an elite football team. Any great coach needs great players, but some coaches aren't capable of taking great players and producing great results. That's the biggest indictment you can have on a coach. We don't know about Joe Brady. All we know is you give this guy a really good quarterback, he can put up a ton of points. He can do it in college, he can do it in the NFL. He won't have it in year 1, and the odds are he won't have it in year 2. But if you feel like you can get there and get a great quarterback, he's proven he can get it done. Now, I don't know about him hiring a staff. He's a young guy. He's 35 years old. He's younger than me. So, do you feel like he can run an organization for the first time? Do you feel like you can help him run an organization for the first time because you have an infrastructure that has been around for a very long time? I don't know. I don't have a hot take on Joe Brady. I think there are some pieces to it that make sense. I think there are certainly some risks. And I think that the ecosystem he was in Buffalo is nothing like New Orleans, and I think it is a little bit like Carolina right now, and that didn't work out. I think the leash needs to be pretty long if you bring in Joe Brady. You bring in a 35-year-old with no head coaching experience into a roster that's old, devoid of talent, and has a iffy starting quarterback, you can't expect him to come in and just take off. This ain't going to be Sean Payton. So, to me, I don't have a hot take. I think makes some sense, but you need to make the leash long if he's your guy. He will interview virtually with the Saints today. The other interview the Saints will conduct today will be in person because this man's team is no longer playing in the NFL playoffs, actually didn't qualify for the playoffs, actually wasn't close to qualifying for the NFL playoffs. That is Darren Rizzi. Darren Rizzi will interview with the team today. He talked about that at his season-ending press conference. He said that he was expecting an interview this week, that he was going to think about some pros and some cons, some things he's going to shake up. Here are my thoughts on this, and these haven't really changed since the season ended. They haven't really changed since week 15 or so. Hiring Darren Rizzi would be a mistake. It would be a mistake. It would be a classic example of an organization completely unwilling to turn over a new leaf. You would go from a midweek Mickey Loomis press conference that has been roundly ridiculed right back to square one, right where you've always been in this circle that doesn't move. Sean Payton moves on, promote the defensive coordinator. Sean Payton's gone, promote the offensive coordinator from within. They don't go out and get any fresh blood. Kubiak was the only one, and he didn't really have a chance. There's got to be some sort of internal realization that what you are doing right now has produced a roster that's not good, a record that's not good, a salary cap that's not good, all of those things combined, not good. And to stick in the same mud with a coach that's been on staff, even if he plans to redo the locker room and decides that there needs to be a better... No. Somebody has got to come in here that hasn't been here for 8 years. You've got to find a way to turn over a new leaf, get some fresh eyes, get some fresh blood, get some new perspective. Something's got to change in New Orleans. And I think Darren Rizzi is a good football coach. The players love him. I don't know him. Maybe he's a great man. Maybe I don't. That doesn't matter. I'm holding against him the fact that he's part of the old regime, and that is not his fault. He did a good job in New Orleans. He can't be the guy for this job. I don't think that's a hot take, but it is one that I feel conviction in. I'm still on the fence on Joe Brady. I'm still on the fence on Mike McCarthy. I'm still on the fence a little bit with Aaron Glenn. I'm not on the fence with Rizzi. No. Something's got to change. And if I got a general manager going, Saints way is doing pretty well in Detroit, it's doing pretty well in Denver, the Saints way is pretty good, and we're close to fixing this thing, and then you hire Darren Rizzi, who's already been here, no. Can't do that 2 times in a row. It made some sense with Dennis Allen. Can't do it this time. So those are the 2 interviews today. There's a possibility Brady is free to interview in person next week. There's a possibility Glenn is free to interview in person next week. I don't know if a Mike McCarthy interview is coming or not. They haven't done that yet. We'll see. Sounds like Cliff Kingsbury is kind of content where he is. So the search continues. I'll kind of evaluate things as they come. But to me right now, I'm curious on Joe Brady, not convicted, and I'm out on Darren Rizzi. That's where I am right now at this point. If you're looking for our Saints coverage, you can find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Jordan, you've listened to my diatribe there. You got Joe Brady on a Skype interview as he's getting ready to play the Ravens. You got Darren Rizzi walking down the hall. What do we think?
Well, number one, get Rizzi out of here. I mean, I would like to keep him as special teams, but other than that, get out of here. A lot of people want Aaron Glenn. I personally do not want to do another defensive-minded head coach route. We just did that. I would like to switch it up. Let's get something new. So offensive-minded head coach is where my eyes are. So Joe Brady would be nice. I'm a little worried. You said he's younger than you. He's 35. He is. So, I mean, it's like Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis might be older than him or around the same age as him.
They're the same age.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I didn't know he was that young. But
Sean McVay did okay.
Not everybody's McVay because, McDaniels was a McVay guy, and he's looking like, a fish out of water right now, or a dolphin out of water, no pun intended. But I just want an offensive-minded guy. I don't really have my eyes set.
Mike McCarthy's an offensive-minded guy.
He is. I don't have a problem with Mike McCarthy like a lot of people do. But
he wins a lot of football games. Yeah, there are some people crowing like crazy on it. I'm not.
Now, granted, I didn't see the Cowboys self-implode many a times in the playoffs when McCarthy looking – stupid at the Jumbotron because Dak just threw an intercept. So I didn't seen it. But beggars can't be choosers. We're already at the bottom. $1 million behind the cap. Like, who we should
that'd be $50 million behind the cap.
Yeah, $50 million. It feels like $100 million at this point. Every year, it just keeps getting higher.
They got till March to fix it. 6 weeks. Get after it.
Yeah, and then Mickey Loomis is talking about, just because the results don't match up doesn't mean we're doing something wrong.
Don't pay attention to the results, Jordan. That's where you're wrong. You can't pay attention to the results.
Can't pay attention to the results. And that's why I'm nervous, because we have a guy saying that, and I compare Dennis Allen to Chuck Noll.
I'm not going to pay attention to the results this weekend. I'll just kind of pick some teams to play in the conference championships. We don't need to worry about the results.
Who cares?
We'll just assign teams where they'll play in the conference championship games. That's that press conference.
Look, just because they didn't win doesn't mean you were wrong. Okay, remember that.
Let's close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is that website. Look, I know that the spring is coming. It's still winter right now, and you're not going to be one outside the next 5 days or so. But we know that spring's around the corner. I was at the first pitch banquet last night. Baseball's coming. If you find yourself outside in your outdoor area where that's just your yard, you got a pool, you got an outdoor kitchen, whatever the case may be, and you don't want to just listen on the portable speaker anymore. You don't want to just play it through the iPad, iPhone. Hey, get those speakers installed so you got that crystal clear sound. We've got it at the Palmer House in the backyard. Myers Mann's already telling me he wants to play baseball tonight. We'll be in the backyard. I'll likely be listening to some tunes, maybe 100.7 The Tiger. Whatever the case may be, we got great sound that I can control it all from my phone right there in my pocket. It's been incredibly convenient, and I don't know anything about technology, and I can work it, so I know you can as well. Give Mitchell Fisher a call. This is his cell phone number. He's the owner of the company. 225-439-7920. 225-439-7920. He's the owner. He'll be your point person. He'll get you taken care of over there at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check him out on Instagram, AVSS_BR, or online, AVSSLA.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
It's the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Tune in tomorrow at 3:30 when the Chiefs host the Texans, followed by the Commanders and Lions at 7 p.m. Then Sunday, it's the Rams and the Eagles at 2 p.m., then the Ravens and Bills at 5:30 p.m. Your home for the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 59 is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by and see them if you got a catering deal coming up, whether it's a birthday party, graduation party. I guess you wouldn't have that in the winter. In the spring. If you got to feed the office, whatever the case may be, Corks can always help you out with those big catering orders. Just give them a little advance notice, and they'll get you set up with those big trays of catfish, shrimp, french fries, everything you could want. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. All right, back. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. We've got Steakhouse Sides Edition.
Ooh, I got a steakhouse coming up tonight for the birthday dinner.
So I think that's why that's in here. All right, first one, mac and cheese.
No, you take it.
I'll take it.
Love mac and
Pretty
cheese.
easy, I think.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, I mean, I eat a little bit. I would like to eat more mac and cheese, but my kid won't eat it. Like, I get to eat
that
some
is
quesadillas.
shocking to me, Hunt, because kids usually like mac and cheese.
I have comments.
Okay.
I get some more quesadillas than usual, which is great. I get chicken fingers and french fries, which is great. You get the scraps at the end of the night, which I enjoy. I have not grown out of that. I have not grown out of mac and cheese. I love it, and I'm probably going to have some tonight.
Next one, baked potatoes.
I'm going to leave it. Like,
Leave it alone.
I'll eat a baked potato. I'm not going to order it at a restaurant. Like, I would rather have scalloped potatoes. Certainly potatoes au gratin, 100 out of 100 out of a baked potato. Just not my jam. I get it. You load it up with the bacon and the cheese, sour cream, chives, all that.
It's a lot of starch, and if you don't have, you got to have a lot of the extras for it to really be, because it's a big
fixins.
Yeah, you got to have all the fixins for it. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty mediocre, honestly. Next one, cream spinach.
I'll take it.
I'll take
Not
it.
going to be the first thing I pick,
Yeah.
but I do like a cream spinach. I enjoy that. It's probably not going to be on the order list tonight, but I wouldn't turn it down if I was at a table for 8 and we got a cream spinach. I would throw one on there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Onion rings.
That's
Take
out.
it or leave it.
I'm
All right.
leaving.
Leave it alone.
I don't like onions. I don't like onion rings. I'm out.
I'm with onion rings. I like them. I specifically. Usually, I like the big, like when they're bigger and they're like thick. Yeah, I don't really like the shoestring ones.
A friend of mine, my dear friend, his family, he's got a bigger family. They have ordered onion rings at every restaurant that has onion rings for 30 years straight. They are just if there are onion rings on the menu, they're gonna be having them. And I don't need onion rings. I don't like the texture of onions.
All right.
I like to put them in like gumbo. There's onions and cream spinach too, but you cook the crap out of them, and I can't tell they're there. I don't want to bite into an onion. No.
All right, last one here on the sides for steakhouse sides. Steamed broccoli. Take it or leave it. Okay.
Absolutely. Love broccoli. People say I'm a picky eater. I just don't like mushrooms and onions and peppers. That's like where I am on the pickiness. I love vegetables and broccoli. I'm in. There are a couple restaurants in town that have really good broccoli.
Yeah, for the broccoli, I want like maybe some salt or like some kind of seasoning.
What about like Parmesan cheese on the top?
That's good. Okay. That's good too. I need something though. I don't want just broccoli. That's straight up. Like I'll eat it, but I'm not gonna like it as much as I would if it had something on it.
I love broccoli.
All right, last one. Snow day next week. Apparently on Tuesday we'll have lows in the 20s and maybe 3 to 4 inches of snow, which
that's like a shot. That's a direct shot at me. My birthday is Tuesday. It's going to be the coldest day
of the year.
I'm going to leave it for sure.
Leave it alone.
365 days, and they pick my celebratory day to be the worst day of the year.
I don't like that. The kid's going to love it, Hunt.
The kid is not going to love it.
Why?
Because I don't know what we're going to do. I have to work. They're going to close the daycare. 100%. Mom's got to work. What are we supposed to do? We got to pay a babysitter.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You want to do my show? I'll sit at home.
Well, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get here. There's 4 inches of snow on the roads.
I don't want to hear the excuses. You'll be here. I'll be here.
Okay.
I don't want a snow day. Snow days are bad. I was at lunch with the extended family, or dinner with the extended family on Wednesday night, and all the kids that are in like middle school are like, oh, snow day coming up. Like, no, I don't like snow days. I don't like hurricane parties anymore. I don't want any inconvenient weather issues. Just give me sunshine. I don't care if it's 104. Just give me sun. That's enough complaining for me, I guess, for the day. We're done. I'm headed to Rouse's. Be there until 5 o'clock. Hope to see you there. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. Maybe the Tigers or Jaden can get it done on Saturday night. Hope so. We're talking about it Monday. Have a great weekend. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James